Okay, and I think we're live, John and Paul. Thank you guys for jumping in here and welcome everyone. I hear the fire alarm going off in the background there, John. So
Yeah, it's 12 o'clock in New York, Kyle.
Yeah, I always know it's 12 o'clock in New York. Yeah, Paul, there, one of our offices is right next to the fire station there. So
we always say mute, your phone and all of Slack, but I can't mute the fire department.
Yeah, you can't mute the fire department. Yes, exactly. But so it's lunchtime in New York. Welcome everyone, and we're very lucky to be joined by Mr. Paul Dabrowski here today. And obviously, this is a nice little HawkSearch BigCommerce webinar, and it's an AI-powered search for BigCommerce. And we're going to talk about unleashing some smart solutions here today. So thank you for joining us, and we're going to be focusing a little bit into the B2B world. My name is Kyle Mitzner. I am the Vice President of Customer Success here at HawkSearch, and I'm joined by obviously John and Paul. One quick fun fact, John, I don't know if you knew this, but Paul actually made a very special trip just to see me last week here in Calgary. And I know we've been talking about you coming to Calgary for a long time, but Paul actually made the trip last week. I'm kidding, it wasn't especially for me. We were at a manufacturing roadshow, but Paul was here in Calgary last week, and I think it snowed the very first day you got here, right, Paul?
Yeah, it welcomed me with warm arms,
Yes. Yeah.
It said, hey, I know you're from Florida. You wear shorts everywhere you go, but here's some snow. No, it was so nice. And I did just come to see you, Kyle.
Yes. Okay, perfect. I thought so. Yeah.
Along with all those manufacturers in Calgary and Vancouver, which Canada is it was a beautiful change of scenery for me because I'm in the flattest part of the entire country, being in Florida. And Canada is just gorgeous. So yeah, for any of our Canadian businesses on with us or partners, like go do it. I'm going to take my family in May. It was that inspirational.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
There you go. Great. There you go. Awesome. Well, John, maybe if you don't mind giving a quick introduction.
Yep, I run products and strategy, and I'll run through an actual demo.
Awesome. And Paul, do you mind giving a quick introduction?
Yeah, just quickly, global B2B manager for BigCommerce, responsible for the success of our wholesalers, manufacturers, and distributors on platform, along with our partners. That includes our agency partners and our technology partners like HawkSearch here.
Awesome. Well, it's very great to host you, Mr. Paul, and I'll let you get us kicked off here, and then we'll jump into some other things around HawkSearch and Smart Search, and eventually, as John mentioned, we'll get into a little demo as well.
Yeah, I'm really excited actually to talk with all you guys today because I'm going to spend a little bit of time setting the scene around just some trends that we see that's happening. So we'll start kind of with the buyer trends. I'm also going to talk about global B2B online sales versus offline sales. And, kind of self-serve automation, but specifically the topics for us today are largely tackling search. And if you're a business who is trying to provide a better search experience for your customers, right, you're in a really great spot. Being in this webinar is a really great opportunity for you. I think it's more accessible than ever today to actually better serve product information or content or the rich, videos that you need. HawkSearch really is doing that and has been doing that for years. But for a long time, it's just been largely served kind of through keyword search. And our platform has that kind of search capability, but HawkSearch goes well beyond our own capabilities. And that's where our partners really shine. And this matters most because buyers are spending a lot more time online today, a lot more time. In fact, like 90% of the entire buyer journey today is complete before they ever talk to somebody in your sales force. And that's quite impactful. So we call today's B2B buyer digital first, right? And so you're looking for digital strategies to better serve those customers with product information, content. And you're going to be able to do that with HawkSearch and BigCommerce B2B together easily, more accessible than ever before. The team's here to actually talk you through that and run you through a demo. That's quite exciting. And again, this matters because the buyers today are really expecting to find, research, and also buy products online as they easily do in their own personal lives. So we're all bringing our personal shopping habits to work today, right? And if you don't offer this as a business, right, your customers will switch to a competitor that does. And it's easy because I can just go to another site. That's how easy this switch is. So to keep up, really, BigCommerce is here and HawkSearch is here around search, right, and e-commerce to better help you serve and to meet those changing buyer needs today. And so I'm going to spend just a little time on the next slide talking to you guys about how big and fast this change really is, what the impacts are. So if you're a company today, you should really understand that online sales are, actually growing much faster than offline sales. We're sitting around 20% of all B2B online sales globally right now being done online. And that's projected to grow to 40% by 2030. So there's an immense amount of growth that's going to happen. You definitely need an e-commerce platform that's going to keep up with you through this change. And if you're a company that is lagging in this digital shift, it could be quite detrimental actually to the business. We know that you're twice as likely, if you're a digital laggard, twice as likely to see your revenues decline compared to your digital leaders. So this is how important it is. It has real impacts on the business today. And so what we're going to talk about today is around search, and the team here is going to talk you through their smart search capabilities. AI has been so good in doing what's really necessary, and that's automating, your sales processes, right? But doing that with a personalized experience that's going to meet the buyer's needs. And today, the buyers really do need to find solutions. And so, yeah, you can move quite into the next slide there. Okay, yeah, fine. McKinsey has a stat that you could save, your sales team up to 20%, in your business through doing sales team automation. The fact of the matter is that BigCommerce, our customers have really driven more success in this, more cost savings through this, better customer experiences. They've been able to reduce their cost, right? And at the same time, it creates upsell and cross-sell opportunities. And that's being served through better search functionality. And today, just like blogs, if I think content for a second, people consume content in different ways today, whether it's a webinar like this or in person. That's just the nature of, we're multifaceted today, right? The same thing with search, actually. And so you need to have the capabilities that go well beyond keyword search. I couldn't be more excited for what the team's going to actually walk you through to be able to show you how they're delivering this and how they've been able to do it for other B2B companies with us today. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to the team and let you guys just show what you're doing there at HawkSearch.
Yeah, and one quick thought as well, Paul, we were lucky enough, we had our customer summit a few weeks ago, and we were lucky enough to have Dan from the BigCommerce team join us. And one major topic that he was speaking about at our customer conference was how B2B buyer behaviors are switching a little bit more to be sort of like a B2C sort of experience. And that was really impactful, especially because when we start to talk about smart search or image search or concept search or all these things we're going to review today, it's a pretty common theme that we talk to a customer and they're like, well, that's more of a B2C type of functionality. And it's just not inherently true. And it's very interesting to see the behavior switch for B2B distributors. And I'm sure I'm sure you've seen that.
Yeah, and just on that note, like we can bust this myth right here that, B2B buyers actually demand a lot more than a B2C like experience. And I could spend, the next 20 minutes unpacking that. But the reality is, though, they're hooked on, in our personal lives, bringing our personal shopping habits to work, they are hooked on the conveniences of this technology that they've used in their daily lives, and now it's become expected. I use image to search every day. My wife just discovered it, right? Yep. Just as many of these businesses are probably discovering it too. I mean, I don't want to put it past it. If you saw my LinkedIn post actually for this whole webinar, the catch there was that, companies, like 50% of all companies have adopted AI, but there's still a struggle and a friction in this. So you want to work with companies that get it, that are actually delivering these solutions, for real use cases right now for that self-serve option. And like buyers are very important here to serve them correctly, because they could lose their job at the end of the day. The stakes are much higher. If I find the wrong toilet paper for the house here, my wife's going to be upset with me. But at work, I could lose my job. So, hey, I want you guys to definitely show these guys how you're delivering that solution for real B2B buyers today and for those sellers, because this is the real deal here.
There you go. And one important thing for us, obviously, we've been partners with BigCommerce for a long time. We have a lot of shared mutual customers. And I know BigCommerce has made a big push, especially recently, but over the last number of years to adhere and to help assist B2B customers within BigCommerce itself. And there's a lot of new, exciting features that you guys are releasing. The coolest thing about our relationship is that every time BigCommerce releases a new feature, whether it's, price lists have been around for a while, but whatever it might be, is we're keeping our app and our marketplace, our app for the marketplace up to date. And the synergy between HawkSearch and BigCommerce is getting better and better all the time. Obviously, HawkSearch is definitely, it works across B2C and B2B customers. We do specialize in certain things within the B2B world. And sorry, you might be able to hear my cat meowing in the background.
Mute your cat, Kyle.
He doesn't miss a webinar, that's for sure. But our app, obviously HawkSearch, the app is available on the BigCommerce marketplace. We support multi-storefront. It's pretty easy to set up, and we can get data from BigCommerce straight to HawkSearch, including price lists. And of course, we support multi-storefront, like I mentioned. Now, some of the new cool features coming out is around our concept and visual search and how that gets implemented. And John, I think you'll cover it in just a second here, but this includes our Rapid UI framework. And John, I know that you and we have been really focusing on building out these demo sites, and we've had a lot of fun doing it, that's for sure. But I'll maybe pass it to you.
Yeah, and anyone who's interested to do it, the takeaway is we're happy to set this up for you. And just to highlight here, because we'll use these terms, concept search, what are you referring to it specifically? I'll just go quickly through these. Keyword we're all familiar with, as Paul said, but now people are starting to ask questions, right? It's not just about, well, this is the keyword, that's probably how you index the data, so I'm going to search this way. Now you can ask that question, which means it's more like natural language processing. It means we're not looking for the keywords. I need to understand the concept of the question and have a result returned. Now, just to confirm, I know you said this, Kyle, but this is all in the newest version of our connector and the way that it connects to HawkSearch. There's nothing you need to do inside of BigCommerce to support the concept and the visual search. And when I do say visual search, there's two aspects to it. The first one, of course, is take a picture. You're on your phone, Paul. You said you're using it all the time. Your wife is starting to use it. Finding the product based on that picture makes perfect sense. But sometimes you don't have your phone, or I can't take a picture of it, but I know what it is. Can I describe the picture in order to find it? When you get into all these foundation models and you hear about everything going on with AI, some of these foundation models are what are called multimodal. It means in this case, it understands a picture that you upload or take a picture of, and you can describe the picture, and both are built into the model. This is a diagram we were just reviewing before the call, and Paul had a good point here. We're never abandoning keyword. Keyword is still staying, and there's always enhancements and improvements you can do to the keyword aspect of search. But if the goal is relevancy, because that's what we're in the business of, HawkSearch wants to return the most relevant results possible, because if the search results are relevant, people are going to click on it, and that's what drives your conversion. That's the business model here. But there's always more you can do to improve that relevancy and therefore the conversion. And at first, look, people understanding concept search, you were just saying, Paul, your wife just discovered that I could upload a picture, that type of thing. Over time, these will be equal. Now, keyword is still quite strong. And if you're going to look at the value of each one of these, it's just starting to build for concept or image. But a year ahead, 2 years ahead, people may almost forget, like, I could only search by keyword. Now I have all these options. So this is the strategy here. This accretive. We're just adding on top of the existing keyword structure additional features. And what I want to highlight here is, and I mentioned it briefly before, is, oh my God, do I have to change all my pictures? Like, how am I going to get like the picture so I could do an image search? The good news is nothing changes. Your indexing process, meaning the connector pushing data from BigCommerce into HawkSearch, stays exactly the same way. But what we do in the back end is we have a pipeline, a process in the back end that says, let me look at the images, and I'm going to take those images and I'm going to convert them to a vector. Let me look at all those descriptions, other metadata, and convert that as well. And then that's automatically now built into the back end. You essentially have your vectors in the same repository, the same HawkSearch index, and then based on the type of search someone's doing, the system will be smart enough to know, oh, that's a concept search. I'll search through the vectors to find the appropriate response.
And one quick call out there, John,
Yep.
is even our own internal team. I find that they don't even understand. I mean, not that they don't understand, but they almost have a hard time believing that it's that easy to actually get it set up.
Right.
You know, in the HawkSearch workbench, I mean, you and I have done it a million times, but
Yeah.
it literally is toggling a few fields, and then you have image or visual or concept search working, which is, it's pretty wild to think about. So even just convincing our own team that it literally is that easy was interesting, we'll say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this one showed a screenshot of, but what we love about the whole environment that BigCommerce supports is there's apps. You install the app, you talk to someone like Kyle or on Kyle's team or someone at HawkSearch, and you get your instance up. So I am running inside of BigCommerce here. I have a storefront. As we said, it's multi-storefront, so you saw the multi option there. And in the demo site, for a search, we have the three items that we were talking about: keyword, concept, and image. Now, keep in mind, this is just our default. So you mentioned this briefly before, Kyle. We have what's called Rapid UI. This is something that you can set up very, very quickly. Of course, there's other options. If you're using other frameworks, we're aware of that. But this is something very easy to set up and even just test and say, look, I'd like to try the image search. How does that work? But anyway, those are the three things we're going to go through here. So let's just spend a second on keyword. Obviously, I want to get to the concept and images, but there is a lot of capabilities that HawkSearch has even within keyword. So the first thing you're noticing here, your classic kind of interface with your facets on the left and the search results on the right. We do have many customers that actually split their content, documents and products into various tabs. So I could do one search and the results come across each one of those tabs is quite nice. And we also have a feature called Instant Engage. So notice I haven't even done autocomplete. I haven't typed anything yet, but I'm already getting some search suggestions from HawkSearch because we have machine learning in the back end. So everything that's searched, everything that's clicked, everything that's added to a shopping cart, everything that's purchased is all managed in the back end and run through a machine learning process to say, we can make recommendations to you in the same interface that we use for autocomplete. So there is still the autocomplete section. So of course, as I start typing, it's going to start returning results, whether it's brand, whether it's the keyword, what have you. But one other just feature to highlight, I promise to get the concepts in a second, is we have a lot of capabilities that say, well, a lot of our descriptions sometimes, like for a ½ inch, it's described as 1/2. So if I do a ½ inch Carlin, for example, you'll see like, well, that's easy because it says ½ inch right here. Of course, it's going to come back with that response. But what if I change it to 0.5? Is it still going to come back with the same result? It does. What if I change inch to double quote? It comes back with the same response. What if I change the order? So what if I do the Carlin ½ inch, for example? So the point is, there's many capabilities just from an advanced search feature set from HawkSearch. But we want to get to the concept search part. And where does this type of search, even though there's all those capabilities I just said, where does it start to fall apart? When I ask a question. So I, by the way, am in New York. It happens to be freezing in the office. And I was just thinking, if I ask something like, what can I use in my garage? What can I use to keep my garage warm? So the point here is you're noticing nothing's coming back in the autocomplete here. Even a regular search here is going to return poor results because it just is trying to like understand each one of the keywords, what have you. So the first thing to highlight here is, what if I use the concept search? Now what's going on here is that question was converted to a vector. Like literally this question right here automatically was converted to a vector. And then it sends that request to HawkSearch and says, what other node, if you kind of know a little bit underneath the covers what's going on with AI, is nearest to this? So the description, the metadata, what have you, and it's going to start returning heating equipment and that type of information. By the way, we use a sentence transformer for this too, so I could ask in Spanish. I'm not going to embarrass myself by trying to type that, but since this is all converted to a vector, I can search that way as well. Now we do have an option that says, why do I have to switch? Why do I have to switch between the keyword and the concept? Can't I just have one unified bar? You can, it's just for demo purposes. It makes it quite easy to perform it this way. So that's the concept search. I'm getting relevant results based on these options for concept search. One other thing I do want to highlight is notice that it still keeps in mind the tabbed interface. So when you're switching between keyword and concept, it's not like, well, everything is functioning over here with keyword search, but as soon as you switch to concept, I'm sorry, we have to throw everything out the window. And now that's a different search result. You get the same facets, you get the same restrictions, visibility rules, or what have you. So let's switch over to image. And by the way, there's multiple ways that you can handle the image search. And keep in mind, if I was on my actual phone, this would switch, of course, to take a picture, and I'd have it on my phone and I would be able to take the picture. So I'm going to upload a picture. I don't think you're actually seeing my screen, but it's obviously opening up. It's opening up my local file system, and I'm uploading this picture here. And a couple of things to highlight. So first of all, it's not actually looking for an exact match to this picture. So for example, notice this picture, of course, it's oriented this way. The picture above is like this, but this one's oriented this way. It's not finding a match. It's recognizing what the picture is and then searches for other pictures that are nearest to it. Again, that same near concept that I was talking about before. So Paul, you'll love this one because I was showing this to your colleague, Lance, and he said, oh, really? Well, let me take a picture of my ceiling and see if you can find this. So he has a white ceiling and he had a white little light fixture on his white ceiling. And he couldn't believe that the results come back as well. And
now everyone knows what Lance's ceiling looks like.
You do. And it's pretty clean, which is impressive. But you can also be concerned sometimes to say like, oh, there's a lot of real estate here that doesn't have the actual product. Like, can it find the product within a relatively large view? Also to keep in mind that there could have been another product in this picture as well, and the system will return all of the products. So even if those are two separate products in your catalog, it'll still return that result.
Yeah, and just a small shout out. I'll have to send you a picture of the Philips Hue light that I have in my office here.
Yeah, absolutely.
A shameless plug for one of the brands that we're working with at BigCommerce.
There you go.
I'd be happy to see this.
This is why we love having these scenarios, and people can, have fun and play around. But you'll see once again, all the facets are coming back the same. All of the rest of the search experience remains the same. And it's quite straightforward for us, especially when you're using our connector. You might say, well, I'm using you guys already for keyword. I would be curious just to try the visual or concept search. It's quite straightforward. As Kyle said, there's some configuration settings in the back end of HawkSearch. The next time you do an index, it will essentially create all those vectors and it'll be available immediately.
Yeah, this is so much more valuable than chatbots. Chatbots are just inherently poor at this, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And also, I think earlier you had been talking about concept search, and the fact of the matter is, you guys deal with 50 different languages right now.
Yes.
Which is big. So you could describe the concept or the keyword in the language, and that's real impactful for many of our companies who are growing actually globally today.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, I think we had a couple of questions that we assumed would come up here. So let me switch back over to this. Let's see if it's going to,
Yeah, there we go. And Paul, maybe we can direct the first one to you, but I'm sure you've been thinking about this a lot just in in terms of B2B customers. And, we get this request all the time. It's like, well, where do we even start? Do we just put concept into our keyword, or do we put it, separate? Do we put them together? I mean, just in general, the presentation layer, and how do we start getting customer adoption? But I'm not sure if you have any considerations or insights into what B2B customers can kind of think about.
Around search in general and the adoption of it, I mean, the reality is that many companies don't realize how important search is today. So if you already understand how important it is to your customers, then you're looking to create a better experience. Immediately, there's value with this technology. I mean, the buyers are already expecting it, so they're going to use it. Adoption is really not the problem. It's if you don't have it today. That's the real problem, right? Yeah. If you're only serving customers with keywords, the reality is this. Say, and this is something John didn't show, but it happens on a lot of sites today, because the mindset of the sellers today has been, well, I have search, and it could return a result within my own product catalog. Reality is, though, we land on a lot of sites that don't return results. And if you're not returning a result, your buyers are using search. So they're using it on the desktop, but they're using it even more when they're on mobile. So they're relying on it. And we know when they do use it at BigCommerce, speaking of the buyer here, when they use search, it lifts conversion by 2 to 3 times. That's really impactful. So if you're not returning the results because your keywords, can't stretch further enough, even to return the results out of the catalog, which is very common today, you're really missing out. And then on top of it, the buyer experience is, not being served. So your competitor who's able to do this, and it's so easy today. I mean, you can very easily connect this to a store and get running, very quickly. You don't have to stand up a huge model for this to work. Although I know that you guys have some services there. If you do have more complexity, you could better serve that as well. Maybe not out of the box fully, but with a service from your company. And you could get to that point too. So there's an accessibility that's like, it's a no-brainer, so it's so needed actually to serve this. This is the new baseline, right? And the reality is that we're focused on e-commerce here at BigCommerce, and our technology partners are focused in on making parts of the e-commerce, experience better. And in your case, it's search, and you do that extremely well. So definitely, I'd say the hurdle is that your own companies need to adopt it and execute, and then think how you're going to continue to innovate around the customer experience, because you're going to gain a lot of insights from the data, the first-person data that you'll collect too, because you're missing out on a lot of data if you're just relying on keywords today alone, right? And I'll leave it with this. This is the last little point I want to make, because as more companies get online, there's a huge urgency for you to actually create a uniquely better customer experience. And product discovery is one of the biggest issues that we deal with. Typically, manufacturers, wholesalers, distributors, product data is messy and it's absurd. It's really bad today. This helps with that, actually, in a really impactful way. So most companies and leaders are like, I have to wait and sort my data out. Actually, the tools here, and this is why I say it's a real deal, because the tools here actually could help with that. And that's where you can lower your costs, you lower your need on development, and you create better customer experiences. These are driving real outcomes for businesses: revenue growth, cost savings, and better customer experiences. So that's my little spiel. Yes, do this, take action, try it out, and get going. Don't wait. Have a bias towards action.
And Paul, to that point, something that's really cool I know we have a whole team of business analysts, but one really cool thing that we really focus on and what we tell customers, and when we tune an engine, if we're tuning an engine or a HawkSearch engine for keyword search, the first thing we do is turn off long descriptions, right? So we don't want to query a really long a field or an attribute that has a ton of information in it. We generally turn that off for keyword search. It's actually the opposite is true when we talk about concept search, is we want all that extra information feeding into the vector database. And it's really cool. So to your point that people might say, well, our data might not be ready, but it's actually kind of the opposite is true, is that your data, even if it's jumbled or has a lot of information in it, it's actually better to send that into our vector database so that we can return relevant results that way.
Yeah, that's uber techie. If we have the uber techie on the call, I
Yeah.
hope that landed. But I mean, the reality is that the technology is so good today that it's going to be valuable. And I look for the things that create enterprise value immediately. This is one of those things. And keyword alone, like if I were to advise somebody today, a business, right? I couldn't advise them solely on keyword search alone, and you need to expand beyond that, because that destroys enterprise value if you're only building for something that is actually becoming less important. It's still a baseline, but you saw that graph earlier, concept, image are becoming really relevant fast. Like we're talking about adoption rates for users that are massive. I mean, look at ChatGPT, look at Search GPT. You're now needing, and if you're not serving those channels, because that's where folks are going to ask for answers. If you're not serving it, you're losing out on revenue. So who wants to do that, right? And you want loyal customers, and this is the better customer experience you can do. And it's the number one used feature of any B2B e-commerce site, right? Is search. So get this right. Do this right.
Absolutely. And John, I know we already covered really level of effort. I think we've kind of determined it's quite easy. So we might be able to skip that one. But when it comes to picking between concept and visual search, how can a customer decide between that, and what are the options?
Yeah, and I'll cover the next two, Kyle, if I could, because
absolutely.
I'm getting pinged that we should wrap it up.
We're already over.
So these are components. So you can think of them as components. If you want to turn on the concept, let's try it. Let's start with that. Or, we'll start with the visual and let's start with that. So you really do get to pick and choose. So there's a lot of flexibility there. But this last point here is also to what Paul was saying. So the innovation that is occurring in this world of AI is pretty dramatic. And we're already seeing that experience inside of Google, for example. So you search for something, you're always going to get your search results, but you're noticing more and more, you get that little area, it has the little sparkle on the top left, this little area that actually gives you the answer to your question. So it's not like I asked a question and you gave me a result and have the answer in it. It's like or the system read the result and said, hey, here's the answer to your question. So we call this smart response. And it's just another component that appears on your site. It's right underneath the search bar. You're still going to get the facets and the search results that we saw before, but it will be written out. You'll see it actually as it's written out by the Gen AI saying, by the way, this is the product we recommend the most, add it to your cart, or whatever the prompt, these are the terms that are related to Gen AI, says, like, this is the kind of experience that I'd like to build within my search response. And we call that smart response. So Paul, to your point, not only would you tell someone, don't just do keyword search, you have to look at concept and image, but then even next phase is, carve out experiences where you could actually provide like specific advice or guidance, or you pick, or the system picks based on what you just asked for. This would be the most recommended product.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I think the difference in that scenario is like Gen AI right now is trained on large models, but in your case, you're training it on specific data model of
their product. Data. Yeah, exactly.
And
it's your data. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a game changer for the tech that you guys are serving, actually. So this is fantastic. I think if you guys are looking to get started with HawkSearch and BigCommerce, this team is ready to serve you. Same with mine too. And we couldn't be more excited actually for the time in which we are for businesses to take action and better serve their customers. So I appreciate you guys letting me come on today. Talk about
it. Thank you very much for joining us, Paul. And quick last fun fact is actually, I know we recently launched a great customer, a shared mutual customer. They're already looking, they just went live with BigCommerce, obviously HawkSearch as well, but they're already looking at these next steps here with smart response and smart search. And we're pretty excited for what that's going to entail. But Thank you very much for joining us, Paul. Thank you for joining John and running us through the demo. And thank you for everyone who joined us today. Certainly, if you have questions, scan the QR code, reach out to any of us. We're happy to help you with your journey if you're considering some smart search Gen AI options for your B2B commerce experience.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.